July 9th and 10th in 1856, as the clock struck midnight during a thunderstorm, a boy was born. His midwife saw this as a bad omen, but to his mother, he was a child of light. His father was a priest, a philosopher, writer, and poet, and his mother was a housewife and an inventor of household products. From his birth and throughout his early years, the story of Nikola Tesla is full of mystical signs that gave evidence to what he was to become and demonstrates how his background prepared him for the mysterious and unusual life to follow. You see, it's not a coincidence that he was born during a lightning storm. This is the initial clue to the reason he had a passionate interest in electricity, which led him to attend engineering school, where he gained more momentum for developing the invention of the Tesla coil and alternating current that allows electricity to be delivered safely to our cities and our homes. He grew up in a farming village in Yugoslavia, alongside animals, waterways, mountains, and forestry, whereby he experimented with nature to come up with ideas for his inventions. His mother and father would recite volumes of poems and quote Bible passages, fostering Tesla's own innate abilities to visualize using a photographic memory. These were to be the basic ingredients to season Nikola Tesla to become a famous inventor, known as the father of free energy, and the owner of over 700 patents, including the remote control, robotics, and the radio. His life journey shows how his kind nature and talents were a fruit of Tesla's life purpose and destination to benefit mankind by discovering nature's hidden energy secrets. When you look back on the lives of renowned people such as Rosa Parks and Steve Jobs, you'll discover that each one had a calling. From the story of Rosa Parks, who refused to give her seat up on a Montgomery, Alabama bus that sparked the civil rights movement, we learned that she wasn't the first Black woman to refuse to give up her seat. Born in Selma, Alabama, she married Raymond Parks at the age of 19, a much older man that was a member of the NAACP, and supported Rosa's efforts to become more of an activist for the movement and an investigator of sexual assaults on Black women. If she wasn't the first Black woman to give up her seat, why was she the one that we celebrate for changing history today? Many of you know the story of Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple Computers, was born in San Francisco in 1955. His biological mother gave him up for adoption as a child to a working class parents. His adopted mother never graduated from college, and his father never graduated from high school. Steve grew up in Mountain View, California, and as a boy, he would work on electronics with his father, showing him how to take apart and reconstruct electronics in the family garage. He was always very bright, but was bored with school, and after dropping out of Reed College in Portland, Oregon, he decided to take some creative courses, including a class in calligraphy. He met his future business partner, Steve Wozniak, in high school. Both having similar interests, they seemed to get along well, revolutionizing the computer industry with Apple computers. You see, there was a reason that Steve Jobs was born in San Francisco and raised in Mountain View, which later became known as Silicon Valley. It is no coincidence that he had the father that could best help him with his life work, and he met Wozniak in high school, where he lived in the same neighborhood. If it were not for him dropping out of school and enrolling in a calligraphy class, we would not have fonts as a computer program. In his speech, Steve Jobs felt that dropping out of college was one of the best decisions he'd ever made. Just as Nikola Tesla, Rosa Parks, and Steve Jobs, we all have these stories and a calling. a purpose for incarnating on Earth this particular lifetime. In his book, Your Soul's Plan, Robert Schwartz writes about how we plan our lives before coming to Earth as possibilities and probabilities. Schwartz worked on the book in collaboration with 4 gifted mediums and channels that could find out what was being planned. They would hear the conversations with future parents, future children, future friends, and lovers, and how we create the plans for ourselves, even the traumas and challenges. Yes, your soul knows what the plan is, but we have free will and the ability to make choices. We can stick with the plan or change it to a less challenging plan. We incarnate as infinite souls possessing a physical body into the Earth's dimension to balance and release karma, be of service to others, correcting false beliefs, and to learn valuable lessons. We are given a personality according to the time and position of the stars and planets to help work out specific issues while on our journey. We choose the period of time to play out our journey and the place on Earth to be born. We choose our parents and inherit some of their strengths and weaknesses that will help us to maneuver through challenging situations to further develop and grow. Together with our soul group and council of elders in the spirit world, we determine our journey and destiny. We meet people along the path at a certain time to help guide us. And when we reach the place of unconditional love on Earth, it no longer matters what astrological sign we come in as. Growing up as a young girl, adults often ask me, what do you aspire to be when you grow up? As a child, I had no idea. The only thing I knew was that I loved to be creative, whether writing or drawing, and I enjoyed learning how things worked. I would draw all the time, at school, home, and church. I loved to write short stories and poetry. Later in college, I majored in communications and minored in art studio. But it wasn't until I was faced with life challenges and contrast that I grew from the human experience. I met soulmates along the way. Some were helpers and others adversaries. You see, your life journey is not easy, for it is filled with landmines, potholes, bumps, blind spots, and pots of gold and honey. Along the way, you have to make choice point decisions and major life decisions that will help you grow and evolve emotionally, giving you more clarity and certainty. During a commencement speech at Stanford, Steve Jobs spoke about connecting the dots, going backwards, and how important it was to follow your passion. He spoke about how the many adversities he experienced helped shape him into coming into his own greatness and how he continued to have faith. He spoke about the uncanny times when things somehow worked out in strange ways. As I connect the dots of my own life, I now understand why I chose the time I came to Earth, astrologically and physically, why I chose my parents and this time period to be born into. Many people say that they have no idea as to what their purpose is. There are, however, signs and specific events and synchronicities that provide the messages for us to receive information and take deliberate action for the unfolding. Along the way, there's contrast put before us to respond to, and our guides and ancestors are working with us to help us along the way to connect with our soulmates, those that are part of our soul group that are helping us to grow and evolve. I remember my Rosa Parks moments, those life-changing experiences. Among them are the time I left my family at the age of 29 to move 3,000 miles away to San Francisco. It was one of the most difficult decisions of my life. But as a result of that life-changing decision, I have traveled to over 30 destinations throughout the world, found my husband, became an author and visionary artist. Later in life, when I got divorced, I moved from San Francisco to Pacifica, California. I really didn't know anyone in Pacifica. But one time, when I was hiking and walking up the hill to a place called Maury Point, a woman was walking down the hill, and we stopped to talk. She said to me, "Wow, it's such a beautiful day." And I responded, "Yes, it certainly is." And she went about her day. Later, perhaps about an hour or so, I ran into the woman at Joe's Farmer's Market, and she introduced me to one of her friends. Right after that, I went to the Safeway and saw her again in the dairy section. We kind of laughed because it was the third time seeing each other that same day. Then, as I got into the line at Safeway, she was right in front of me. And we talked, and we just thought it was so uncanny to run into each other at the same time, 4 different times within a short period of time. And all of a sudden, a bell went off in my head. It was like ding, 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 ding. It was as if my guides were telling me, you have to get to know her. I asked her if she had read the Celestine Prophecy and how it said that if you keep running into a person, that there was a message for you. She said that, yes, she had read it too. So we decided to exchange numbers, but we had nothing to write on. So I told her that I was going to go to my car to get a pen, and she was going to go to her car as well to get her card. And as we began to walk through the parking lot, we noticed that we were going in the same direction. Both our cars had been parked on the other side of the parking lot where the farmer's market was located. When we got to our cars, they were both parked next to each other. This is how our guides are working with us to meet up with our soulmates. The woman became my best friend and muse. And I had just finished taking hypnotherapy courses at the Palo Alto School of Hypnotherapy, and I was in such a dire need for an office space. Later, after talking with her, she was also a healer and owned a Victorian office building in Pacific Heights, where I ended up renting an office. You see, part of your reason for coming to Earth is to evolve yourself and serve humanity. We call what you do is your life purpose, and the service you came to offer your life work. They are intertwined. You have a special role to play, something that you are uniquely fitted for. Your life's work will take on various forms at different times. The form may change from month to month and year to year, but as you keep in touch with your soul's purpose, your vision grows. Our soul's purpose is not a goal, but an unfolding process and should not be looked at as an endpoint. It's remembering who you've come to be and what you've come to do. It can be recognized in the natural talents and skills that you have that are an integral part of it. Your soul's purpose is a higher calling. It involves remembering who you really are, awakening to your higher self, and being the best you can be through your actions, your thoughts, and words, always coming from the place of unconditional love. As you look back and connect the dots of your own life, you will begin to understand the path you've chosen to take and the purpose behind it. You can see the traumas that you've experienced over the years and the opportunities that those challenges gave you to grow and evolve, and the synchronicities that were played out along the way. You remember the people you had to meet to get to a certain place in life. There are usually about 3 major life-changing decisions one makes throughout their lifetime. These present contrast and uncertainty, presenting opportunities for you to remember who you are and awaken to the greater you. From them, you begin to have clarity and the will to manifest your desires. You start having faith and connecting future dots. You start responding to life from your higher self. And each time you gain wisdom and start living your soul's purpose, because you know at the end of the day that it was part of your soul's plan, created for you, by you.